Everyone, welcome back to We Will Latina in Classical Art. In this video, we'll be going over the art of the Julio Claudian and Flavian emperors. So starting off with the Julio Claudians, they were the first imperial dynasty of Rome, and they lasted from 27 BC to 68 AD. So first, we have the Augustus of Prima Porta, and it depicts Rome's first emperor, Augustus, and it's currently displayed in the Vatican Museum. It's from around 20 BC, and it displays Augustus as a victorious general. And we talked about the Warism and the very realistic depictions, but here, even though his face is recognizable as Augustus, the body is very idealized because he wants to be seen as a step up from human. He wants to be seen closer to the divine. So again, it's using art to kind of portray how they want to be seen by the masses. And his breastplate depicts the return of the Parthian standards. So these standards were very important to the Romans, and each legion had their standards, and these specific standards were lost in Parthia in about the 50s BC. So his breastplate depicting those would have been, very positively received by the Romans because of the importance of these standards. And then the structural support you see on the bottom at his leg is Cupid riding a dolphin, which is a reference to Augustus's divine ancestry. Which is, they would trace it through the goddess Venus because Cupid was the son of Venus. And then on the right here, we have the Gemma Augustea, which is a large cameo, and cameo is just a technique for carved glass or gems, which is why it's cameo. And then it portrays Augustus as Jupiter seated next to the goddess Roma. So again, depicting him closer to the divine than human. And on the bottom portion of this, on the bottom portion of this, it shows the Roman soldiers erecting a war trophy in the presence of captured barbarians. And then next we have the Arapakis, which just means the altar of peace, and this is from 9 BC. So it's a decorated with relief sculpture, and on the top left here we have the imperial procession, which portrays Augustus and his family. And then on the bottom left we have Tellus, the earth goddess, seated with two children, and she's perhaps a personification of Italy. And you'll see lush vegetation, and it's meant to represent the peace and prosperity of the Augustan age. So again, as he was the first emperor, he wanted to make sure it was seen as an age of prosperity and peace, hence the altar of peace. And next we have the Domus Aurea, which just means the golden house. And this was built by the Emperor Nero. So he was the last of the Julio Claudians, and this was built in the 60s AD. And again, they ended in 68 AD, the Julio Claudians as a dynasty, with the end of Nero's Rome and with the end of Nero's reign. And he built this huge, extravagant palace complex after the Great Fire of Rome. And he built over a lot of the houses of the rich and just took up all this land that didn't actually belong to him before the fire. So a very unpopular building project, but it was very opulent. It had this octagonal room where the ceiling rotated to reflect the movement of the heavens, which you can see on the right here with that opening to the sky. And it had rooms decorated with frescoes in the third style of Pompeii wall paintings, which we'll get into in a later video. But that is it for the Julio Claudian art. And then we have the Flavian emperors, who ruled from 69 AD to 96 AD. And first we have the Arch of Titus. So the Romans would build these triumphal arches that the victorious soldiers, armies would march under to celebrate. And this one specifically was built in honor of Titus and his conquest of Jerusalem, which you can see on the top right here. We have the spoils of Jerusalem depicted, and that includes the menorah. So this is a very famous section of this arch. And then most importantly, we have the Flavian Amphitheater, better known as the Colosseum. So it was completed in 80 AD and it accommodated about 50,000 spectators. And it was built mainly of concrete. Again, concrete was a very important building material for the Romans. And they had a very good recipe for concrete, which we still haven't really figured out because their concrete lasted forever, as we can see. And the exterior had 80 arched entrances with 3 levels of arches framed by different kinds of columns. So you'll see on the bottom level, it's Doric columns, on the middle level, Ionic, and on the top, Corinthian. So it's really cool to see those 3 levels of architectural style.